broadcast, right? If it bleeds, it leads, right? You show crime stories and you show fires, because that's what folks watch. It's all about ratings. And the problems of terrorism and dysfunction and chaos, along with plane crashes and a few other things, that's the equivalent when it comes to covering international affairs.
I'm telling you, this guy never ceases to amaze, does he? It's the networks that are propping up the threat of terror. It doesn't really exist. We heard from his spokesman today, doubling down on a question by, I believe it was Ed Henry or Jonathan Karl, one of the two. Did the president really mean that climate change is more of a threat to America's security than terrorism? He didn't deny it. Joining us now is Democratic political consultant and political strategist at Douglas Schoen LLC, Jessica Tarlov, and Republican strategist and author of Hail Mary, Ford O'Connell. All right, welcome both of you, and let's start in the wake of the death of Kayla Mueller, and of course that interview was done before that, but it doesn't matter. President hasn't even been out there today saying anything about Kayla Mueller. He issued a press release. He doesn't move him. None of this moves him. How could he downplay the threat of terror when people all around us are being burned alive, beheaded, killed? What's wrong with him?
Are you asking me what's wrong with him?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't exactly know. And I wouldn't say also that he wasn't moved by it. He spoke last night with Kayla Mueller's parents. Josh Earnest came out and spoke about it. And I'm sure that we will hear from the president about it. But I'm not going to say that his response to the entire fight with ISIS has been appropriate whatsoever. And I'm hopeful that, he's going to Congress for authorization to potentially move ground troops into Iraq and Syria. And I hope that he goes for a sweeping retaliation against this threat.
Hey, Ford, we have made Jordan into like the greatest military power on the face of the earth. They're doing what we couldn't even dream of doing. And why does it need military authorization when, ISIS is not an existential threat?
Well, he can't even utter the words radical Islam, and as you pointed out earlier, basically says the media is hyping the war on terror. So essentially the president's now saying he's got to go to Congress for authorization. That's pretty rich. He's asking for this. This is going to be interesting because I think we're going to have a big fight down in Congress, because Democrats want to put restrictions on the troops and the geographic scope of this operation and a time limit, and Republicans want to leave all options on the table. This is going to be a heavy lift to get this authorization through Congress, and frankly, I'm not sure President Obama wants to get it through Congress, because frankly, if it doesn't get through Congress, he can absolve himself and said, you know what, I did everything I could do against ISIS. It's not my fault, it's the Congress. That's the Obama modus operandi in his scandal manual, because frankly, the war on terror is inconvenient to his agenda.
Well, Jessica, I can understand why Charles Rangel, Nancy Pelosi, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz should be directing the limitation of the scope of the fight on terror. I think America would be on board with that.
Yeah, okay, I get it. And I take Ford's points on board, and I don't disagree with them. I am hopeful, actually, as I said previously, that he will get sweeping reign to do whatever he feels that he needs to do. And I hope that it doesn't last until April. I heard that the authorization might not come through until then. We need to do something now. And what you said about Jordan, I've been hugely impressed, obviously, with their reaction to what's gone on. And hopefully we will be supporting them in every way possible.
But here's the thing, Ford, we should have been doing that. What they're doing now, we should have done months ago. We don't need Jordan to do it.
Absolutely. Jordan only has 116 fixed-wing aircraft. They need lethal aid just like Ukraine to fight these guys, and we're sitting here on our thumbs. And the reason why we're on our thumbs is because President Obama does not see this as anything more than a police action, as he said in his interview with Fox. It's sad, unfortunately. ISIS is real, the war on terror is real, and we need to show some leadership, particularly as the #1 military power in the world. And yet we sit there watching everything go by on YouTube like nothing's happening. This is getting outrageous.
Well,
I hope Jessica's right. I hope we can come together on this front.
Well, Jessica, if I hear the president say, we can't play whack-a-mole every time.
No,
I can't take when he says that.
I can't take it either. Democrats can't take it either. This idea that Democrats are fully in support of what President Obama has done, it's misguided. Obviously at the high ranks of the leadership.
Why don't they speak out against this guy?
Some of them do. I think you're going to see more consensus about this than you think.
And how many are not going to show up for Netanyahu's speech?
I don't know. I think that's a really interesting issue. I think that Netanyahu should cancel that speech. I think it was completely inappropriate of Boehner and Dermer to organize that when he knew it didn't have White House approval.
I absolutely disagree with you, Jessica. I do not think
that's
that
very
Netanyahu
shocking.
should cancel that speech. The president has shown himself to be a rookie on the international stage. Look at what's happening with Russia and the reset. Frankly, there's not a lot of
all right,
trust.
guys, we're coming back. We're coming back with
taking
round
his
two.
case to the one
Ford
group that can do
O'Connell and
something.
Jessica Tarlov. Don't go away. More of the panel. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with part two of the panel. Very spirited discussion in part one, and it's Jessica Tarlov and Ford O'Connell. All right, let's quickly go over this. The RNC put out a question today. Where is Hillary? Come out wherever you are. Let's see. Since her last press conference, it's been 202 days. Since she's last done an interview, 184 days. Since she's been in Iowa, 103 days. Since she's been in New Hampshire, 100 days. But she did tweet out with the hashtag grandmas know best or something like that, about vaccines. It's science. Debate over. What about it, Jessica? Why is she in hiding?
I don't think she's in hiding. I don't think she needs to be out there right now. I mean, she has a clear lead in national polls and statewide polls. What does she need to be out there right now? And I mean, that's not to say that there haven't been issues with things that she said. And I think she's spending her time building her campaign team and honing the correct message for the campaign once it gets kicked off. I heard May, maybe July, and I don't think it's an issue of hiding. She doesn't need to be out there. She has the biggest name recognition in the country. It's enough.
And Ford, to me, I say bring her on if you have a Republican candidate who's willing to fight the fight, because she has made so many mistakes and has so much responsibility for Benghazi and our foreign policy. But, the 77% of millennials who were polled who couldn't name one sitting U.S. senator in their own state, a majority of them say, yeah, Hillary. So that's what's a little bit frightening.
Hey, that's exactly right, and that's why Jessica's right. She is actually in hiding, but she has near universal name ID, and she needs to work on her message, because guys like me and you, Steve, don't know why she's running or even what her message is. And frankly, how is she going to relate to the middle class when she hasn't driven a car since the early 90s and makes more money in 1 hour of a speech than the average American makes over 5 years? So she's got a lot to work on, but she's right to be in hiding, because frankly, people like me, if she gets out in the open, are going to whack-a-mole her all the way, play up expectations, knock her down, and allow the Republican to win in 2016, because that's my job.
All right, now let's talk about someone who is not in hiding. There were reports that he went to the apartment of the CEO, Steve Burke, CEO of NBC Universal, and had a meeting with him about his future, Brian Williams. Ford, the hits just keep on coming. We're talking about lie after lie after lie, reportedly, regarding Katrina. They had to rescue him from a stairwell because gangs in his hotel were coming to get him. I mean, all made up, apparently. And the Hezbollah rockets, and, of course, Iraq. And who knows where else it stops.
Well, there's only two dates you remember, and that is the date, the birth of your kids, and when your helicopter's hit by an RPG, Steve. Look, this is a problem. Brian Williams is the Tom Brady of NBC News. He's their golden boy. He's the only one that brings in the ratings up to a #1 level. And frankly, they're scared with all the trouble at NBC that if he goes away, that they're not going to be able to recapture those ratings. They're basically in a prisoner's dilemma. They don't know what to do. But let's understand something. Brian Williams hyped the news for ratings, and basically he did this as a correspondent. What does he have in return for lying about all this stuff? An anchor desk. That's how it just works in the media, my friend.
And Jessica, reportedly, he told, according to our friends at Breitbart, he told Tom Brokaw, eye to eye, 3 of those lies about Katrina.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend Brian Williams, but I will say that I think that the way forward here is for a real honest apology. No more of this term misremembering, which I didn't even know was really a word. And David Carr, I thought wrote a really brilliant piece in the New York Times about this, where he says, these things happen, but if he doesn't stand up there in front of the American people and actually say, I'm sorry, I lied, there's going to be no chance for forgiveness.
All right. What about Hillary? Lying about taking sniper fire with Chelsea in Bosnia. Does she have to do that also to be president?
I think that it would benefit her to come clean about whatever, ghosts there are in her closet, or whatever the term is. I don't think it's ghosts.
What about it, Ford?
I always think that you want to get your dirty laundry out first, but who knows with Hillary, because given the fights they're having in Hillary world, they're still working on the message.
Yeah, well, of course, we had Cheryl Atkinson yesterday and asked, why is it more important for Brian Williams to be honest than it is for Hillary Clinton, who, after lying about it, went on to become Secretary of State and now wants to be president. We thank both of you, Jessica Tarlov and Ford O'Connell. Great panel. Coming up next right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, it's Gimme 5 on Newsmax Television.